Hey book lovers, I'm Elise and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to go over my November TBR. Apologies about my voice, I'm battling a little bit of bronchitis right now, so I sound a little different than normal. Okay, I have a very large backlist of Book of the Month books. I've been a member since 2017. And there are a lot of books that I haven't read yet. Every month, I wanted to read at least 3 Book of the Month books to try to dwindle down that list that I have to work on. I have all of my unread Book of the Month books written on pieces of paper in this tin, so every month I will draw 3 titles to read. I have already read 1 Book of the Month book this month because I finished Daisy Darker yesterday, which was November 1st. And I do have another one that's already on my TBR, so I'm just going to be drawing 1 title today. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. It's very hot. I'm very warm. Okay, so first up on my November TBR is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This is a historical fiction novel about twin African-American sisters. At the age of 16, they escaped their small Black community in the South, and now as adults, one of the sisters is passing as white. So I haven't read a historical fiction in a while, and I do really enjoy them, so I'm excited for this one. Next up is my TBR for the Gilmore-a-thon, which is a Gilmore Girls themed readathon taking place November 7th through the 13th, hosted by Darling Desi, Liv's Library, and the Literary Lane. For the small town prompt, I'll be reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is actually going to be my very first Emily Henry read, so I'm really excited. This book is about Nora, who is a literary agent, and her sister Libby, who head to a small town for a little bit of a getaway, and Nora runs into Charlie, who's an editor from back in the city. And apparently Charlie and Nora have a little bit of a history. Sounds like it's going to be an enemies to lovers. And for the set during the fall and winter prompt, I will be reading The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. This is a fantasy romance about a witch who accidentally hexes her ex for breaking her heart. And now, 9 years later, she has to try to save him from the hex. For the complicated love interest prompt, I'll be reading The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This is another fantasy romance. This book is about Florence Day, who's a ghostwriter for a prolific romance author, and after a bad breakup, she no longer believes in love. And it sounds like she butts heads a little bit with her new editor, and just when she thinks that she has to kiss her career goodbye, she gets a phone call and has to head back home to her family's funeral parlor to help bury her father. Then she sees a ghost of her new editor. This one sounds really unique, and I'm really excited to read it. Next up for the Asian rep or Asian author prompt, I'm going to be reading Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is a dystopian sci-fi novel. I don't know much about it, but the summary talks about an artificial friend named Clara who is waiting for a human to choose her and take her home. All it really says is it's about the wondrous, mysterious nature of the human heart. And for the Leaves on the Cover prompt, I'm going to be reading All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This is the author who wrote Flicker in the Dark, which I read earlier this year and absolutely loved. I have this as an ARC from NetGalley. This one is a mystery thriller about a woman whose infant son was stolen from his crib while she was sleeping in the next room. So a year later, he still hasn't been found and she hasn't really slept much. This one has aspects of insomnia and a true crime podcast. I'm a little apprehensive about the podcast aspect. I typically don't really care for that in novels, but because I love the author's last book, I'll give it a chance. Hey, it's me. I completely forgot to tell you about the final prompt for the Gilmore-a-thon, which is a book having to do with family drama. I did not include that in my TBR because honestly, I wasn't sure which books might include that. So I'm hoping that within some of the books that I've chosen, I'll be able to fulfill that prompt. Back at it. The next is Keep It in the Family by John Mars, which is a thriller about a husband and a wife who are renovating their dream home. And while they're doing their renovation, they make a gruesome discovery in their attic. Mia, the wife, ends up getting pregnant, and after the baby's born, she becomes obsessed with finding out the dark truth of what happened in their house and will stop at nothing to protect her family. Next up is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I have read and reread A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read it last summer and then I listened to the dramatized audiobook for it this summer in hopes of continuing on with the series. So a lot of people already know what this is about, so I'm not going to go into it. I've heard this is most people's favorite and I'm pretty eager to get to it. And finally, the last book on my November TBR is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is another one that I don't know a whole lot about, but I do know it's a fantasy about a boy called Zachary who discovers this book in a library, and it sounds like it takes him on some fantastical adventure. Okay, I am really losing my voice now. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to hear what you have on your November TBR, so let me know in the comments. And until next time, bye.